Hubbard's Real Estate Principles book. It's this book. I didn't know how it was going to look and how the lighting was going to look because I'm actually in Las Vegas at the Inman's Conference. And the Inman's Conference is anyone who's everybody in real estate is here talking about leadership and what's going on in our industry. I know it looks kind of like a black wall here, but this is actually the TV in my hotel room. But anyways, I want to make sure that we get going on this principles course because as we were going through the principles course, it was going really, really good and you guys were learning really well. And I want to make sure that I bring that back. And once I finish principles, I'm going to jump into practice. And in between here and there, I'll be doing the MLO classes. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for joining. And the MLO classes actually are coming up where I'm helping people pass the national MLO exam. This weekend, we're doing the real estate exam, and then during the week, we're doing the MLO classes. But right now, we're going to be doing Chapter 6 in the Ron Hubbard's, I keep saying Ron, it's Walt Hubbard's 15 edition. It looks like this. And the reason it's so important is this book, honestly speaking, if your 10-year-old knows how to read, they can read this and pass the real estate exam. Maybe not just this book, but the practice book. Maybe take my class. That would be a good thing to do. So we are on page 157 and chapter 6. And this chapter is about landlords and tenants. So it's a really juicy one, especially in California. Hi, thank you for joining. And so it's landlord tenants or lessor lessee. One of the things that people get confused about when they're doing real estate is who's who. And you really have to know who's who when you're taking your California state exam. And just remember, OR is usually the owner. So when you say landlord, that's the lessor, and the tenant is the lessee. And like when you're doing offers, the offeror is the one that owns the offer that gave it to the offeree who's receiving it. And then in some states they use mortgages. We don't here in California. Well, right now I'm in Nevada, but in California we don't. We have trustees. And in other states, they have mortgagors and mortgagees. So remember that OR, if you don't know who it is, it's the owner of the property. So going into the book on page 157, if you don't have the book, it's easy to follow because what you can do is write it down and take notes. And then what you can do is on YouTube, you can slow me down or speed me up and rewind me and do whatever you need to do to learn what you need to learn about real estate. And in California, landlord tenants is a huge issue because some of our lawmakers are really, it's almost feeling like they're going after landlords. And that's not cool because a lot of the landlords, and I'll do a whole video on landlords and tenants because landlords, a lot of them, we call them mom and pop landlords. A mom and pop landlord is somebody who owns less than 3 rental properties. Hello, Maria. So I know I made it on. I'm in between events. So the Inman's event ended and we're not going out to dinner until 6:30. So I'm like, I'm going to get in there and do some of chapter 6. Chapter 6. So anyway, what you have to know if you're going to take the California real estate exam about landlords and tenants, and then I'll come on and do another video about landlords and tenants. And I have a strong feeling about that because there's mom and pops who are elderly and they don't know how to follow all these new rules. And, you know, they just bought property a long time ago and they're lucky enough to be able to rent it out and use that money for their food and for their taxes on their properties and for everything that they need to survive. But yet we're coming out with new rules and changing the rules on them, which, you know, when legislation changes rules on people, I think that's wrong in so many ways. Because, you know, you set up how you're going to be a retired person when you're 65 and the rules change and what happens, you know? So we'll see how things change. I have a partner that wants to go up to the Hill. That when we say go to the Hill, that means up to legislation and try to work with them on doing something for homeowners that are also landlords. But anyway, it's been a long day and I want to get some of this out for you so that you understand the landlord-tenant stuff. So thank you for joining me. And landlord and tenant relationships are created when the owner gives the possession and the use of their property to another person. So a landlord relationship happens when you hand your keys over to the new tenant who now has possession of your property. Now it's still your property, you still legally own it, but they have possession and you have a contract with those people and they pay money for living in your property. Now you can do more than rent out just your property. You can rent out or lease your land by itself. And that's different, a whole different situation. But let's see what it says. It says the owner gives the possession and use of their property to another person for rent or other consideration. The landlord is the lessor. And by the way, landlords are not going to be called landlords anymore. Be careful, because the California real estate test, the exam, I can't talk right now, it's been a long day, it's changing. But as far as I know, I don't know if they're changing the names that are current names, because landlords are no longer going to be called landlords. They're going to be called property providers. So I don't know. I'll have to sneak around the powers that be and find out when they change the state exam. It's going to be a while, so you guys are going to be okay. So let's just still stick with landlords and tenants. So landlords and tenants. The landlord is the lessor, and they're the owner of the property being rented or leased. The landlord and his or her agent may lease only the land in the building, or only the building or parts of the building. Okay, so the tenant is the leasee, and they're the person who's renting or leasing the property. A lease is a contract for a set time. So usually when I lease out my properties, I don't do leases, I do monthly rent. So, and the reason I do that is my attorney always says, Sharon, do not do a lease, do a rental. And the difference between a lease and a monthly is month to month, and leases are usually for a longer period of time, like a year or more. If it's less than a year, it does not have to be in writing. If it's more than a year, it has to be in writing, okay? So you need to know that. And anytime you put anything in writing, everybody who signed it has to get a copy of it. It says, after gathering the real estate, I'm reading license, what do you recommend? Joining a franchise or a small brokerage? That's a good question. God, I'm gonna have to write these down because I want to keep going in this class. It says, is there more than one version of state exam for California, or is there only one version? Gosh, Rebecca, those are really good questions. So because they are such good questions, I'm going to go ahead and answer them. First of all, when you're shopping for who you want to work for, I do have a recorded class called I Got My License, What Do I Do? And it talks about how and who and what you should do when you're shopping for a broker. But when it comes to a franchise versus a small broker, if you find a small broker that's willing to take you under their wings and teach you what they know, that's how I got into the business. Only I found a small mortgage company that wanted a processor, and they taught me how to process. They taught me everything. And then they said, if you get your real estate license, because in those days, all you needed was a real estate license to become a loan officer, they said, we'll train you. And they trained me so well that in less than 3 years from becoming a processor, I started my own mortgage company with my brother. And that's why I'm into mortgages, and I help people with their mortgage loans. And with a small broker, I think they're more willing to train you if they're going to give you their time. If they're going to give you their time and train you, yes, all means, go with a small broker. Now, large brokers, it's not really the company you're working for, it's the people you're interviewing with. Who are the people that are going to train you, and what are they going to do for you? And are they really going to do what they say they're going to do? Because you can say that, I've had people tell me about one company in Corona where they had the worst experience of their life and they wanted to stop being a real estate agent. And then I had somebody else say that they had the same company, but it was in a different location because they're independently owned and operated. They're franchises. And when they're a franchise, you never know who the owner is going to be. Back to the question about the state exam changing. So the thing about the same state is, I got to read the other question before it disappears. They're called boutique brokers. Yes, they're called boutique brokers. I don't call myself a boutique broker. I guess I would be, because I usually only have 6 to 8 people under my license at any given time. The question about the exam changing, or how many exams do they have? Okay, so I'm going to give you the exact lowdown here. Good question. So back in the day when I took my test, there was approximately 1,500 questions. And at that time, we were not online. We were not on a computer. So we had a Scantron. So that's probably where somebody, oops, I'm sorry, I kicked the lighting. That's probably where somebody told you, I'm sitting on my foot because the chair sinks. Anyway, I'm at a hotel. I'm in Las Vegas at this event. So anyway, back in the day, they had, I believe it was 5 different tests and 1,500 different questions. And you would get, I lied. It was 15 different tests and 1,500 different questions you could pick from. But that was because it was on a Scantron and they couldn't change the questions. It was as it evolved, and the Department of Real Estate would say, oh, we updated the test. Well, when they updated the test, they just made more questions, and the question pile kept growing and growing and growing. And then they started doing the questions on a computer. So with that said, there's 9,000 questions from the pool of questions. So when people tell me that they just want to study the questions and answers, I'm like, no, you can't just study the questions and answers. You need to know the material. Now, unfortunately, the Department of Real Estate the testing is how we did real estate in the 1970s and 80s, how we had forms that we pulled apart and we worked through. We don't do that anymore. The other thing that's on the test is about your trust account. Most offices don't do trust accounts anymore unless they're doing property management. So a lot of things have changed and evolved. And when the Department of Real Estate was saying that they were updating the test, they were adding more questions, but they weren't taking out the old questions. So from what I understand, they are working on updating the test. However, they have to give you guys enough time for all the people to take the new classes that go with the new test, because you can't completely change the test and have you studying out of old material. So I'm going to keep everybody updated, and when I learn about stuff, I'll teach you guys about what you have to know. But most of you guys will have your real estate license by the time all that happens and changes. But anyway, so with that said, I think I answered both your questions. We're going to keep rolling. So landlord-tenant thing, to me, that's the smartest thing you could do if you ever want to secure your future, especially if you're going to be somebody who's independent. So real estate agents, for the most part, are entrepreneurs, and we like to think of ways to make money without actually going to work. I mean, what can I say? The mortgage company I worked for, my brother was my right hand, and I was the person going out and getting the business. And I didn't have to, if I woke up late, who cares? Because my appointments weren't appointments. I was going everywhere I could to get real estate business. Then if I had an appointment with a client, that was usually in the evening. So, it's 6 one way, half dozen the other, because you could say, I want to work for myself, because if I work for myself, I have more time for myself. Well, yeah, you do have more time for yourself, but you're working with yourself all the time, because it's 24/7. It's not 9 to 5. So as a landlord, same thing. Like, my tenants call me and they're like, hey, the pool's not working, or hey, this is happening, and you got to deal with it. So we're back on the landlord tenant thing. Let me make sure we keep going, because I need to get through at least 2 pages or something, maybe 1 page a day, get you through this. So it says a lease is a contract for a set time, typically 1 year or longer. A rental agreement is different in that it's usually made on a month-to-month basis and is renewable at the end of each period, sometimes week to week, sometimes month to month, or any period of time up to 1 year. Because a rental agreement is a type of a lease, the principles are the same as those as a lease, except for the time periods involved. So when you're renting, you're pretty much leasing from somebody, either or. But the difference that my attorney said to me about the lease was, I said that I wanted my clients to have a lease, because that way, if they broke their lease, I could go after them for the money that they owe me. So let's say they said they're going to do it for a year and they only do it for 6 months, then they owe me 6 months of rent. But it's not that easy. And let me see what the question is. Hold on. It says, you're the best in the game. Aw, thank you. I try to be an angel. I'm the real estate angel. Anyway, so what my attorney said, because people always ask me what I do, and I usually don't do a lease, because this is how it works. When you do a lease, you say, okay, you're going to rent from me for a year. And like I said, let's say they skedaddle at 6 months and you think they owe you 6 months of rent. That's not true. If they move out and you find somebody to move in, and let's say you had a 2-month gap, then they only have to pay you a 2-month gap. That's what my attorney said. And the thing that, and he goes, you have to think about this logically, because I go, well, that keeps them wanting to stay in the house longer, because let's say they have a 1-year lease and they go, well, it was really easy to stay in this home. I want to just stay another year. And that's great. But when it's after the year, this is what I let all my leases do. Almost everybody stays in my homes longer than a year. Most people stay in my Irvine house for, I want to say, they do a 1-year lease and they usually stay for 3 to 5 years. And that's normal. My place in Fullerton, it's like a 10-year thing. They move in there and they don't ever move out. And and I used to never raise the rent. Now, this is something I'm going to talk about that's not in the book. I know some of you want to just learn the stuff, so just fast forward over the stuff you don't want to learn. But the thing about landlords and tenants that I'm really going to talk about one time when I feel like being mean is, the state of California is really annoying when it comes to landlord-tenant relationships, and tenants seem to think that they're going to vote against the landlords all the time. We'll keep voting against the landlords, and we'll sell our homes to people that are not renting them out, that are moving in, and guess what? You won't have a place to rent. And keep voting against landlords, and we'll sell our homes to foreign investors who leave them empty. So, I'm just saying, the other thing that they did is when they do rent control, you know what it makes all the landlords do? Because I never used to raise my rent ever. But, when you let somebody live in your home for way below rent for a long period of time, and then you try to change it, and they control what you can change it to, then I'm just going to change it every year automatically. So, and that's what the landlords are doing, because, if you won't let us do what we want to do with our properties, then we can't rent them for way cheaper all the time. So staying with the thing, I'll get into some of that later if you guys have questions about landlord tenancy. I started being a landlord when I was approximately 22 years old, and I've been a landlord ever since. And so when people ask me questions about being a landlord, I can answer them pretty darn good. So, and we're in that chapter right now. I'm sinking in this seat, my foot's stuck, because it's like super low. I can't sit in this seat. It's crazy. Anyway, so let's get back to this. It has a green section here that talks about, it says, the President Trump has promised to eliminate ambiguity and minimize regulations on building projects. This would allow more apartments to be built. Rents may increase at a slower pace over time as apartments come on the market. So what they're saying is that the more apartments we have, the lower the rent will be, because supply and demand. And so it was funny because somebody was telling me that rent prices were going down. I said, not in California. And they kept trying to tell me, because they were my tenants. They wanted me to lower the rent when I was really meeting with them to raise the rent. And then they moved out. And they said that I wouldn't get more rent. Well, they were paying $39.50 in a 6,000 area. And so they wanted me to drop it to 3,000. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I looked it up. I know what the going rent is. And they said they moved out because they got a lower rent. And I'm like, so where'd you go? Because they said they were going to stay in Yorba Linda for $3,000 a month. And you're not going to get that in Orange County. So they didn't. So I ended up renting it out for way more. So it is what it is. I mean, depending on where you're at, you can always look up what the rents are and make a decision where you want to be. So anyway, the more properties there are. So when she said to me that rent was going down, I said, where? And she looked at me like a deer in the headlights, said, not in Orange County. And then I read the news, and the news was saying rents are going down. But if you read the fine print, that was Texas and I believe Nevada. And the reason the rents are going down there is because the builders are able to build more apartments. The more apartments, the less the rent. Okay, got that? So leasehold estates. So less than freehold estate. Types of leasehold estates, tenancies. A leasehold estate is personal property right in real property. You got that? So if you have a lease, you have personal property that's the right to real property. Does that make sense? Hope so. So I said it twice. I'll say it again because it sounds kind of crazy. So a leasehold estate, if you have a lease, that's personal property with a hold on real property, the real property that you're leasing, okay? So as discussed before, with a less than freehold estate, there's no direct ownership of the real estate. They are a chattel reel. And in all the education books, you hear the words chattel reel. Chattel reel is personal property. So if you were to take all the property you own and put it in your front yard, and you're getting ready to move, you're going to put all your property into the moving truck and it's going to go. That's your personal property. So a chattel reel is all your personal property, no real property involved in a chattel reel, okay? A chattel reel is personal property estate, such as a lease, okay? We call this type of interest in property a lease or a leasehold. A leasehold is an exclusive right to occupy and use the property on a temporary basis. There is no ownership rights in real property when you lease. The owner has revisionary interest, which means that the owner can regain their position at the end of the lease. So you own a property, you lease it out. After you lease it out, you can move back in it if you want or not. It says, how did you become a landlord at 22? You're amazing. Rebecca, you just like me. Come on now. and I would love to teach all the young people how to do stuff, because a lot of young people think they can't do something. And let me tell you about can't. Give me a second. It says, can you help me apply for a conventional loan? Absolutely, Carla. Call me directly. I can help you understand how you qualify for a loan. The other thing you can do is also just call me direct. And I think my phone number is everywhere, but since Arlene's not on, Arlene's my business partner. Are you ready? Write this down real quick. 714. This is my direct line. You guys can call me and text me. 745-6348. You got that? It says it's called Passed on Knowledge. It's called Passed on Knowledge. I don't know what that means, Carla. So anyway, I can help people learn how to do what I did and basically pass on knowledge. I like that. Okay, that I get you. I get what you're saying now. Hey, how you doing, Iris? Says, hello, can you make a video about contracts for the real estate exam, please? So there's not a lot of contracts on the real estate exam, but I do have a video on contracts. Text me. I just gave my phone number. You can listen to it when it replays. I'll do it one more time real quick. 714-745-6348. Text me the contracts video and I'll send it to you. The contracts video on this YouTube channel is phenomenal. I mean, thousands of people have watched it. I had one girl that she couldn't afford to take my class. She really wanted to. And this is the story. It's a true story. And she's a mom, and she was a single mom at COVID, and she didn't have a place to live, and she wanted her real estate license. And she went to take the test without any help, and she failed dramatically. And I think she said she got a 7% on contracts. 7%. And she started crying, and somebody said, I'm the angel of real estate. She started crying, and she dropped her phone on the ground, and she said, God, please send me somebody that can help me. And guess what? She picked up her phone from the ground, and my contracts video was playing. So she watched my contracts video. She watched a bunch of other videos, and she didn't take my class yet. So she hadn't taken my class yet. She went to take the test. After watching my contract video, her score went from a 7% on contracts to something like a 72%. So the contracts video that I'll send you, all you have to do is text me. I'll send it to you. It's on this same YouTube page, but it's easier for me to find it. Also, if you go in my, so there's different places. I even go looking around on my YouTube page and I can't find stuff. If you go on where it says playlist, there's a playlist if you're taking your real estate exam that's absolutely free that you can watch and listen to that's going to help you pass the test. Now, if you need more help, then you just take my class. And we're doing the class this weekend from 8:30 in the morning to 5 p.m. and then on Sunday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Now, depending on how many people are asking questions and how, because we let you ask us questions directly, will depend if we get out at 4:30 or if we get out at 5 o'clock, okay? The other thing is our mortgage loan class will be that following week. But that contracts video, she did really well. She took our class, and after she took our class, she passed the first time after taking our class. So I teach the best that I can to help everybody pass. We had one lady that was English as a 5th language, and she took our class because we allow you to take our class up to 3 times without any extra charge. And she did that, and guess what? She passed the first time. So I can help you as much as you need help on, but that's why I'm trying to stick to this now. I know there's some, like I said, you guys, if you're ever watching a video and I get sidetracked because I'm answering questions, just fast forward it. And you can do that back and forth to make sure you know where you want to listen to the stuff and take notes. So I always suggest your yellow highlighter. This yellow highlighter, you don't have to have a big one like this, but the bright yellow color, when you highlight in your book or you highlight your notes, attracts to the chemicals in your brain, and they suck together and they make you remember all the stuff that you highlight. That's why I say always have a highlighter and always have a pen, and make sure that you write clearly so you can understand what you wrote. Because sometimes I have students, they go, Sharon, you know when you were talking about this? I'm like, yeah. They're like, what did you say? And I'm like, it depends where I was. And they're like, yeah, I can't read my writing. So when you're taking notes, you guys have this on video, you can just rewind it. We also have something called instant access. So if you want to pay a little extra for the class, you can get our class on video and you can watch it. I think it's for like 60 days or something. It's for quite a while. And I might be wrong. You just got to look on our website. Okay. And if you have questions, you guys, please put things in comments. Please share me. Because I I just haven't been on, and that's because I'm taking care of my 93-year-old mom. And I'm thinking about doing another YouTube channel about baby boomers, people that are, and maybe basically people that are over 45 years old that have to take care of their elderly parents. Because let me tell you, my mom's gonna drive me to the grave. Somebody's asking another question. It says, I have your exam on Friday. Oh my gosh. Okay, so since you have it on Friday, if you can afford instant access, well, it's Friday, this Friday. If you can afford instant access, I would get it, because today is Wednesday. It's 16 hours of material. Depending on what you're having problems with. I mean, have you ever taken my question to you is, if you have your exam on Friday, have you ever taken the test before? How many times? You don't have to tell me how many times. You can just say yes if you want. If you have not taken the test yet, just consider it a practice run. Because the thing that I teach a lot too is manifestation and believing in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself and you go in there and you go, I'm not going to pass, well, guess what? You're not going to pass. But if you go in there and you're like, I've studied all material, I've done everything I could to pass, I'm going to pass. And it says, I do too. It says, I do too. What do you do too? First time. Okay, so it's your first time. No big deal. I'm pretty sure you can reschedule. It depends on what you know. If you know a lot of stuff and you're feeling good about it, depends on what you studied. What have you studied so far? If you're studying the other guy that's on YouTube, I would say reschedule. Hold on one second. It says, oh my God, good luck. I took my exam before, but I did not pass. Oh, by 1%. Okay, so here's the thing. You need to be careful what you're studying and who you're studying. If you're taking the California exam, you need to take a California class, okay? Because California's test is the hardest test out there, and it's the most outdated. And because it's outdated, you need to know how we used to do real estate back in the 70s and 80s. That's what you have to know. And you also have to know which is the best answer according to the DRE. They have questions that have all 4 answers are right, but if you answer a right answer, it might be a wrong answer because it's not the right answer they want. Okay, so, and they have a lot of questions that say all of the following are except, or this one not there, there's not in there, and it's very confusing. It's not hard, it's confusing. There's a difference between hard and confusing. And there's a lot of other stuff I can tell you. However, I'm not going to be on here all night because I have to go to dinner with a bunch of people. Okay, it says I took the exam before. Okay, but Iris, have you passed it yet? What's going on here? Come on, we got to pass the test and become real estate agents and help buyers become owners. That's our whole goal. And help owners rent out their property and buy another property and build wealth. That's what we're about here. It says, please share how you become a landlord at 22. Oh yeah, you want that answer. Okay, so when I was young, and this is what our problem is in the United States, parents are not teaching their children financial literacy. And financial literacy, like when I was little, here's the difference. When I was little and I got money, I got birthday money, I got Christmas money, let's say, what else did I do? I was a paper boy. And you know what? Because I was discriminated against. Because I was a girl, they didn't give me a paper route. So I got my younger brother, who was a couple of years younger than me, to get a paper route. And he and I shared the paper route. And because he was doing so well, because there was 2 of us, they gave him a bigger route. So we made more money. So we saved all of our money. And then, if you ever heard of this show called The Brady Bunch, my brother and I and my sister were all back up, you know, like when you see all the kids in the background, we were those kids. And so basically I saved all my money I could, and by the time I was 18, I was 20 years, I had $20,000 in my bank account. And so I had $20,000, I was 18 years old, and I believed that renting was flushing money down the toilet. And it is. You guys, if you're renting, you're wasting money. And so what I say to everybody that doesn't own anything, stop being so damn picky. Stop caring about the interest rates. First of all, you're not going to get the best thing the first time out. So get something that's a piece of crap. I hate to say that, but I didn't want to get a piece of crap. I was in escrow for a brand new condo. I watched it be built. And right before we closed escrow, interest rates went from 8, yes, I said 8 to 18. And I'm like, and the stupid loan officer didn't say, well, this is what we could do. And the builder had to do something because he lost all his buyers. And so we ended up buying, instead of an $86,000 condo, we had to buy a $56,000 condo. So with $20,000 down on 58, it was actually 58,000. It wasn't a very big loan, and we qualified for it. And I bought it with my fiance, and he got to move in, and I didn't, because my mom and dad said you can't move in until you're married, and I kind of agreed with them. And we bought the property, and together we qualified. And so what I tell people is, don't be so picky. And especially, yeah, okay, there's nothing for $58,000 anymore. But think about this, you guys. I was making $2.65 an hour. Most people nowadays are making at least $15 or $20 an hour. So that's a big difference. So you can qualify for more. You just have to understand what you qualify for. And what I'm telling everybody that I know is, stop waiting for the rates. The interest rates are a tax deduction. When you buy a property, the interest rate is a write-off and the property taxes are a write-off. And if you want to talk to me one-on-one about what you should do to set up your way on how to set up to get to that point of buying something, call me. My phone number is all over the place, and I just gave it to you guys again. So then at the point where I hate to share this kind of information, but you guys are personal to me, and so I'm just going to say it. My ex-husband was a contractor, and he was working with his uncle, and his uncle treated his wife like crap. Well, eventually, my ex-husband got used to watching his uncle beat his ex-wife up, or his wife. I don't know. I think they're still actually married. I'm personally not a punching bag, and I don't think any woman should be. And so we got in an argument, and I locked myself in the bathroom because I thought he might punch me, and he punched the door and gave me a black eye. And my thought was, if the door wasn't there, he would have busted my face. So with that said, divorce number one. And because of that, I told him, I said, you know what? I don't know what you want to do, but I'm keeping the property. And so I bought him out, and I rented out the property. And then I bought another property in another location at another price. And how I did that one was, I took the condo and I took the equity out of the condo, because the equity in the condo, I bought it for 58 and now it's worth 150. So I take out enough equity out of that to buy my next house. And that property I bought for 149, and it was a nice house in Diamond Bar. And so then I just kept taking equity, and that's called pyramiding. You take the equity out of the property you bought last, and you use that to buy the next property. Does that make sense? So that's how you buy property. And you have, and back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, parents would co-borrow with their kids to help them qualify in the loan. And nowadays, I don't see parents helping their kids at all. And so I'm not understanding where the cut in the connection is and why they're not helping their children. And when I talk about, it says you're a very lucky person. Am I lucky? Because I got out of that first relationship, or why am I lucky? Because I had great parents. My parents didn't teach me any of that. The one thing my parents did for me that really helped me was they never said I couldn't do anything. Okay. So the thing is, you guys, I don't care who says what to you, and it kind of makes me almost want to cry, is whatever anybody tells you, don't let them tell you you can't do something. Take the word can't out of your vocabulary, because can't is a bad word. I didn't even know it when I got my real estate license. I'm sorry, I'm cheering up for you guys, because I think it's so wrong when somebody tells you you can't do something. So my goal this year is to help as many people who have real estate license become brokers, because I don't understand for the life of me why somebody would have a real estate license for 40 years and never get their broker's license. That makes zero sense to me at all. So I did that. I had my real estate license in 1986, and then it says, you guys are too sweet, thank you. So I got my license in 1986 to become a loan officer, and I was a loan officer only from 1986 until about 2006. So 86, 96, that's 20 years. But I wasn't trying to be a real estate agent. But what I learned was, as a loan officer, I am the glue to most real estate agents' transactions. And because I am the glue to their transactions, I can do what they can do. And what I believe that I want to start, I haven't told anybody this yet, you guys are first to know, is I know for a fact that because I could be a loan officer, I learned more about the real estate transaction than most real estate agents knew. And so then I got my broker's license, and I started doing the real estate transaction and the loan transaction. And my clients didn't have to go anywhere else. They didn't have to talk to anyone else. All they had to do was meet with me, get their loan started. I put it into my company. My team would do the loan, and we could go find a house. And it was super easy, super successful, and it works. Now, the problem in today's world is there are people that want to be a loan officer and a real estate agent, but you have to master one first. And the other problem is there's not any companies out there that want their loan officers to be realtors or their realtors to be loan officers. And to me, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, because let me tell you, I can sit down on a Zoom call with you right now, and I can tell you what you qualify for in probably less than 20 minutes, probably in about 12 minutes to be exact. So I know, isn't that smart? The problem is a lot of real estate agents don't like doing the numbers. And the other thing, it says, great start to August. Aw, thank you. I'm gonna try so hard to come on here, but like I said, you guys, literally, when I'm president right now of my Realtor Association, and that's only until the end of this year, and then I become past president, and I still have to do a lot of stuff, and then I'm free. But I don't want to be free. I love doing what I do, and I love traveling with the California Association of Realtors. And I learn so much, and I meet so many great people. So you guys, you got to get involved. And, I'm at this Inman things, and people pay a lot of money to come to the event I'm at right now. It's like $1,200. If you sign up, I'm going to sign up for next year's now, because it's half price, and it's going to be in San Diego. And that's going to be sometime next year. So look up Inman's, and you meet the top of the top people, and it's phenomenal. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to tell you guys is, when you watch all these speakers talk about real estate and how to be successful, talking to the successful people, I can kick myself in the ass, because I should have done and could have done what they've done. And because I've been in this business now since 1986, that's a long time. Do you know what my database looks like? I helped 14,000 people or more get their real estate license. I don't even know how many people I've helped get homes. If I would have kept the relationships, and that's what I talk about, the only thing I regret in this business is not keeping those strong relationships and making sure that people know, I know how to get you pre-qualified. I know how to get you a loan, and I know how to get you your next home and your next home and your next home anywhere in California. So the thing is you guys have to be like that. You have to call people back. They said that they did a secret shopper. You guys know what secret shoppers are? Oh, thank you so much. I am trying my best to be here as much as I can for you. You're wondering where I was. My 92-year-old mom is very demanding, and she doesn't have a car anymore. She used to be able to drive. And so when she lost her driver's license was when I lost my freedom. I hate to say it that way, but it's so true. So my goal, I'm just going to tell you my goal. My goal is to try to be on again at 9:30 every morning. But when I'm somewhere like this and we have to be in the event at 8 o'clock, I'm like, well, I can try the evenings. But the reason I can't be consistent is every other week we do evening classes, and the evening class starts at 6 and ends at 9:30. And so every other week I can't do evenings. So I'm going to do my best. My other thought is to just wake up really early and get on here before work. I'm going to do everything I can to help you guys with that. But, it's just, at the end of the day, if you want to be a successful agent, you've got to return phone calls. They did, anyway, I was telling you, at this event, they said that they had this one guy he's doing data, and they're all into data, and he did Secret Shopper. And Secret Shopper is where you pretend you're a buyer, and you give them all your information. You see how they react and what they do. And he said that they did, I didn't write down all the numbers. It was a large amount of people and a large amount of time. And he said that with his research, 67%, that's a huge freaking number, of realtors do not call back, or they get a lead and they don't call the lead. Not only that, he said that people at open houses, they get your name and your phone number, like they're all on it, and they're going to help you buy a home. And guess what? They don't call you. They don't follow up. So he said the follow-up and the return calls are ridiculous. It says, wow, you're a broker. Yes. A salesperson. Yes. A loan officer. Yes. Well, salesperson, once you get your broker's license, you don't renew your salesperson's license. Your broker's license is a salesperson's license. So you can do both. You may have, let me see, I'm reading you. I have a notification on So I Be Here If Available. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. So thank you for having your notification on. If you have your notification on, what I started doing, like when I did this one, is I started telling you about 15 minutes ahead of time. Or maybe what I'll do is give you maybe a longer lead time, like maybe 20 or 30 minutes before I'm going to get on. And then I will get on and do what I can and answer your questions and move forward on these classes. It's just, wow, I got so tired out. I mean, the thing is whether you believe it or not, all of us are made of energy. I'm giving you guys all my motivational stuff. All of us are made of energy, and there are people out there that we call energy suckers. And sometimes you don't realize it or you don't really believe this stuff, but I will tell you that I am energetic, and when people are around me, they get energetic, and it's a positive thing and it's good. But my mom, I hate to say this because I love her, she's my mom, she's an energy sucker. And so what happens is when I just hear her phone, she wants me to call her every morning. And I have to call her and make sure she's okay. And when I call her, I can just feel the energy drain out of my body because she just, and it's true. There are people like that. They're energy suckers. So you got to be careful with who you hang out with. It says, hi, Alan. Just came to say hi. Aw, thank you so much. Are you the Ellen on Instagram? I don't know. Most young people go to college and then end up coming into a real estate salesperson and don't use their degree. Do you think this is due to MLS information? No. I think it's people fall into things for a reason. And people, whatever you do and whatever you're good at doing, you seem to attract to that. Let me see what this person's saying. I'm sweet. Oh, thanks. Do what you can as much as you can. I'm trying to. So yes, hi Alan, how you doing? I'm sorry I didn't go to Instagram yet. I don't know that I'm gonna have time because we've been on here for, believe it or not, 41 minutes and just talking and having a good old time. And so I promise you guys, next time that I open the book for chapter 6, we'll do chapter 6, okay? Because I think that some people are just excited that I'm back. So I do still post on my TikTok and on my Instagram and on my Facebook. I don't understand that trends one. If you guys understand that, you can teach me about it. But, oh, it's not trends, it's thread. And it says, can I follow you? I'm like, yeah, follow me, but I don't know how to tell you how to follow me, and I don't know how to accept you following me. I have no clue. But anyway, sometimes you just have to learn all these technical things. I want to try to do Spotify. I tried to do it one time when I was on, I hate to say vacation because these aren't vacations. When I go out of town, it's not vacation. So this is Inman, and Inman talks about everything that, I mean, they had people on stage. They had the guy the CEO of Zillow, and he was talking. They had the CEO of, they have all these huge people that are telling you what they're planning on doing and what's going on in our industry. And if you don't learn about what's going on in our industry, you're going to be left behind. But the main thing that I take away every time is relationships, referrals, follow up, call, make phone calls. And one guy was saying that no matter what, even when he's successful, 1 hour every day of new contacts, calling new people, 1 hour every day of following up on people that you've had in your life, and build those relationships and keep those relationships. One lady that was a really popular real estate agent, she said that she knows when everybody's birthday is. She knows when their anniversaries are. She follows them through their life and becomes a friend, a relationship. And then their friends and their friends become her clients. And so you really just have to make sure that you stay on it, even if you're tired. So anybody have any more questions? Because I didn't even finish page 150. Let's finish page 157 so we can start on page 158. So we were talking about how a leasehold is a chattel reel. So when you have a lease of somebody's property, you don't own their property, but you do have personal property rights in that property. There's no ownership rights because the owner has still the rights of the property. So we actually are on page 158, and 158 is only the chapter outline. So we don't have to do the outline because I don't have to teach you what I'm going to teach you. So we won't do 158. We'll start on page 159 tomorrow. And it talks about credit scores and how to, it says screen proper clients. I'm going to tell you that screening clients is not as easy as people think it is. So now that I know what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, I'm going to tell you about my experience with renting out my mom's property real quick, because I'm supposed to go to dinner pretty soon. So my mom's property in Yorba Linda was up for rent. And if I was the average person that's not a real estate professional, and I was a mom and pop. Okay, so mom and pop are people that bought a property and rented it out and bought the house that they had and maybe bought another one, and they have maybe 1 or 2 rentals, and they're, I don't know, they don't have to be older, but they're people that are not corporations that own homes that they rent out. And I'm not the only one who calls them mom and pops. Everybody calls them mom and pop landlords. And they're people that the sad part is they don't know what they don't know. And what they don't know can get them in trouble. And that's why I stand up for all landlords in California, because we are going to fight for them. And I have a friend named Mary, and Mary and I are on our local board of realtors, and we're going to talk to our congressmen and to our senators, and you guys need to talk to them too about how come they keep changing the rules. And it's these people up in San Francisco. I can't name names namely because I don't know their names, but if you're a lawmaker and you're changing rules on people who bought homes like me. Well, I'm a little excessive. I started buying property like other women buy shoes. And that's because I started a real estate club, and then I started buying property all over the country. And then I realized when I had my first couple of problems with people out of state, that my rule is every home I have is within 45 minutes away. And the reason is if something bad happens, I can get there. And every so often something bad will happen, and you can't control that. And things that you can't control, you can't freak out over because you can't control it, right? So, the laws that are changing that make it so mom and pops have a harder time. Now, sometimes the regulators take that into consideration, and sometimes they don't. So we'll see what happens with that. But tomorrow we're going to start on the credit scoring. And the reason I started talking about mom and pops is, so my mom, we just rented out her property. She's 92 years old. She has no idea about anything. Okay, she doesn't know she's not supposed to go and say hi to her tenants whenever she wants to. You're not supposed to. If the landlord's going to come and visit their tenant, they have to give them a 24-hour notice, and it has to be for something that they have to do. Like there's a water leak or there's a repair that needs to be done. You can't just show up and say, hi tenants, I'm here. I had a client that did that, and I asked her, we were getting ready to sell her property, and I met her at the property, and I said, did you tell your tenants that we're going to be here today? And she's like, oh, I don't have to do that. I have their keys. I go, you can't just walk in on them. She goes, yeah, watch me. And I'm like, no, it's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. And she didn't even know that. She goes, oh, I do it all the time. She took her keys out and opened the door, and I heard the shower. I might think he's in the shower. She's like, that's okay. I'm like, no, I'm not going in there. So you can't do that. You're invading their rights to privacy. And you have to give them what's called quiet enjoyment. That's on the state exam. Quiet enjoyment is because the tenant's paying rent. They have the right to having possession of your property without you barging in on them. And there's so many things that mom and pops don't know. So back to the credit thing that this is talking about, credit scoring is what we're going to talk about next. So Zillow sent me some information of people who wanted to rent my mom's property, because I put in there that I was my mom to see what would happen. And it was really interesting because they connected me with RentSpree. Now, RentSpree is one of the best ways to work with landlord-tenant relationships, because the landlord can go ahead and put in an account, and then somebody who wants to rent from them can open an account, and instead of you filling out an application with every place that you want to rent, you only have to do it with RentSpree, and then you can say, oh, I want this landlord to look at my information. But then when the landlord gets the information, my mom, again, is 92. She does not know how to read a credit report. It took me, a professional, to go over the credit report and look at the properties and the mortgages that the renter had, because he flips houses, and connect the pieces and know that that was a good person that she should rent to. So you have to know how to do the stuff that you don't know how to do. That's why there's realtors, because realtors help you with all this stuff, and that's why you guys are going to learn how to help other people. So I hope that you learned a bunch of stuff from me today. I think it was action-packed, and I'm going to try my best to be on this thing tomorrow, but I don't think at the same time, because I'll be on the airplane. My airplane leaves at 5:40 and I'll be home. Maybe I can do it when I get home. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you for watching and listening and asking me questions. And feel free to put comments in. I love you guys to death. I'll see you later. Bye.